I'm sure like many people, you might be wondering which of these two is actually a good business. Well, my friends, worry not, because in today's video, we're just going to be talking exactly to that. I'm of the view that maybe property development as a business is maybe might take the crown. But also on the other hand, as I've been doing Airbnb, I also think that it is taking the crown. But we need to understand these two businesses before we can actually just go off the surface and say this one is the best business or that one is the best business. But at the end of the video, I am going to be showing you a surprise in terms of which one is the best of the two. So let's start on one of the business, which is property development. And I think that property development, it's one of those tried and tested, which basically means that for years and years, from the biblical times, people have been buying land, and over and above that, they've been developing. What is the need? The need is that they find gold somewhere, and then they say, well, let's build around it so that people can stay. And around that, we build schools, clinics, and towns. And hence, property development has been a thing. Well, you might have also seen that urbanization is still a thing. There's lots of people that are coming through into different towns, and there's other people that are migrating from one urban to the next urban. So which basically means that the art of development as a business, it is still a thing. But constructing the actual properties is not where the real money is. I always say that in property investments, or should I say when you're doing business in the investment side of the business, we need to look out for what I call active business and what I call passive business. When you're doing the construction or when you're doing the development of it, I want to sort of like give a warning, or should I say raise a flag to say that you don't just go buy the land and then thereafter, kaboom, you have a house or you have a block of flat or you have whatever development that you're wanting to do. I do think that there's quite a lot of benefits that you can derive from actually owning or running a business of development, which is that when you understand it, you are going to find cheaper ways of doing it. When you understand it, you're going to find cheaper resources of how to do it. When you understand it over a period of time, you can find cheaper or more affordable land, which basically then it starts to increase your profits. However, as we all know, development comes with its own challenges. Some of those challenges could be capital to actually do it. It's not pap and place for us to go and buy a piece of land. And it is also not cheaper for us to go out and get loan. And it's also very difficult to obtain loans. So we can see that the constraints of the capital is one of those challenges that we can get into if we are wanting to go and construct some form of the development. But it offers great stability and potential for sustainable profits, like over a period of time. I'm still just talking about the property development side of the business before we go on to Airbnb. Now, before we jump onto the benefits, or should I say why I would think that Airbnb could be taking the king, I want us to zone in a little bit on the development, on the property development business, because I did a video not so long ago, and basically I explained some of the compliances that you need to have for you to run a property development. And my friends, without wasting time, check this video out, which is coming through. It's an old video that I did, and I've introduced it in this segment so that we have a deeper understanding of how to start the property development before we go on to talk about Airbnb. So you're going to see a younger version of me before we jump on to talk about Airbnb. I will check you out just now. Now, number one question that lots of people have always asked me is, TJ, how do I become a property development business in South Africa? Or maybe how do I own a property development business in South Africa? On this video here, or should I say on this channel here, we are always talking about how you can step up your game to be whatever you want to be. So, for instance, within today's topic, I'm going to tell you about how you can step up your game to be in the property development. What is property development? Maybe let's start off from there. Number one, you probably stay in a house today. Someone actually had the thought of putting a plan together and said, how can we develop this area? In the big metros where we all sit and stay, traditionally what would have happened is that the big cities came in and the councils went on to say, hey, let's develop a plan within this area. So the town planners came in and they developed the plan to be what it is today. And now we do have a city. But in some other areas, those areas were left like that, and they were kind of like open stands where traditionally private people would then go and buy those stands, and then they would build a house that you're staying in. Maybe you could be staying in a complex, maybe you could be staying in an estate. A developer, someone who actually had the thinking to say, hey, the town planners from a council perspective have demarcated this area to be for residential purposes. So how can I go and develop and how can I make that money? Potentially, I am already preaching to the converted because you already know that you want to be a developer. You've seen someone else being a developer and you've been wondering how can you get it right. So in today's video, that's what I'm going to be talking to you about on how you can start your own company, your own development company in South Africa, and how you can own it and how you can run it. This is in no order of steps, but you can take it like that. So a lot of people have gone through the traditional route, which I didn't take, but a lot of people went through the traditional route. And what I mean by traditional route, what do I mean? Well, we all know that you can go to school and you can learn how to construct properties, how to become a builder. So you become a foreman. So from being a builder, you become a foreman. From a foreman, you become a construction manager. Or you can learn how to be a QS. QS, you can check out on your own what QS means if you're serious about doing property in this space of development. Because these are some of the terms that they throw out. So let me come back to you, right, and talk about this particular individual. So you've gone to school to learn how to be a builder and you have progressed the chain of command and now you're a construction manager. With being a construction manager, all you are, you're an employee. But you start seeing opportunities. So you go and buy a land. With buying that land, you start the developments because you know how to construct it. Later on, you actually decide, let me start a business. So you go out there, register a CC, a PTY, or whatever it is that you're going to be operating in. And then you start operating into that business and you continuously buying pieces of land across the city, across different towns, and you're continuously building for the purposes of maybe build and then you sell. So you're a developer. That's what you are. Or potentially maybe you haven't gone that route, but that's the traditional route that a lot of people will take. But the point is that not a lot of people will have money because they are just employed, and as an employee, they may not have the money to actually start the development. Of course, it requires lots of money. But let's not dive into that today. It's another topic that we'll talk about on how you can actually get funding for development, right? The second one is that in today's world, maybe you missed that opportunity to go to school, at the formal school, and you learned how to do that. So in today's world, there are so many companies out there that are now teaching people that are, let's say, doctors, teachers, and all the other professions that are there on how to run a development business. Some of them, they might not teach you how to run a development business, but they will teach you how to become a developer. The skill that you can acquire to be a developer. So basically having an eye for good land and basically now putting your team together. Yes, you need a team. Putting a team of professionals together so that you can now become a developer. So there is unconventional or untraditional schools out there where you can go and learn irrespective of your background that you do have today, right? So maybe you actually have your own money and now you go into this school here, and that can be over a weekend or that can be over a period of a year. But the bottom line is that there is schools out there that you can actually go in and you can learn the skill to become a developer, even though you missed the opportunity of being in a traditional school. So that was the second one. Well, the other third option, which is the route that I took. And basically what it is here is that you see the opportunities and you have the money, right? You see the opportunities and you have the money. What you then go and do is that obviously you need to register your company and you're running it now. And now because you're identifying these opportunities, you now go in and hire professional developers. So you hire people that went to school to do this, and you start now creating your own team, so that when you create this team now, all of a sudden they can come in your business to run your business. Have you ever seen people that actually practice, or should I say that own a medical suite, that own a medical business, but they themselves, they are not medical people. So how did they get it right? They had the idea, they started the business, they went and then they hired the professionals. Have you ever seen people that own, let's say, we all know there's so many franchises out there in the country. I can speak of Nando's, it's one of my favorite. I can speak of KFC. I can speak of Panarotis. All of these are franchises that are out there. None of the people that own these franchises are people that went to cooking schools. They didn't go to cooking schools, but they had the money and they bought the businesses. And when they bought the businesses, they hired the professionals. The professionals now come into the business and they work on their behalf. Now, with all of these three options, basically you can now start. Yes, you can now start your development company in South Africa. It's not steps, but it's options that you can take, that you can go and explore, and you can start running your business today. What are the fundamentals though of this business? Obviously, it has to be a business for you to recognize it as a business, right? That's number one. Number two, you need to be able to identify opportunities. You can hire people that can identify opportunities for you. Number three, obviously, you need to make sure that you've got the right team on board for you to be able to execute the opportunities. And then number three, what you now need to do is that obviously when you have identified all of these opportunities, you make sure that you are making money out of it. Now, developments, for some people, it may take a lot of money. For some people, it may be zero money, which is a topic for another day. I've seen people that have gone into development with zero money at all, but have made money out of it. So the question that we were wanting to ask or answer for in the beginning is, how do I become or how do I own a property development company in South Africa? And maybe you've been asking the question to yourselves as well, to say, how do I start a property development company in South Africa? Well, there you are. Now you know how to do it. Welcome back. I am sure you have been entertained and been educated on how actually you can start a property development business. So now that you are equipped on this one, and maybe you're a newbie, you're saying, TJ, I think this is for me, but I also like to do the Airbnb. Remember, by the end of the video, we are leaving it for last for us to identify which of the two businesses is a good business. Because if you're to look on the property development, my friends, as a business, you can buy a big piece of land as agriculture. There's a bit of waiting time that you now need to do for you to actually do the compliance, changing the land use to agriculture to whatever you want to do. Sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's even 5 years. I've seen that before. However, the wait that you have done with what you're going to do, if that area has been modernized, it basically means you could be buying a piece of land for something like 100 grand. And by the time you get to all this compliance, maybe a smaller piece of land that you might have bought 100 grand, you could be selling it for double the price in smaller pockets. which basically means that you will be 10xing or even 100x your profits. But this is rare, my friends. But it has been seen to be done. In other words, what I'm saying here is that you can buy a property. Let us say that a piece of land, let's just say it is maybe 20,000 hectares. Out of the 21,000 hectares, you are now buying this piece of land for around about, let's say, 1 million. However, you can subdivide the same piece of land, 20,000 squares, and you can subdivide it into 1,000 squares, which now means that you now have 20 of them. And you can then easily be selling them now maybe 100,000 or maybe up to 500,000. I have seen that before. And that's from a development perspective. In this case, all we have done is done what we may call land flipping. But for some people, they would want to go in and develop the land. And over and above that, they would then sell the property for maybe R1 million, a property that's sitting on 1,000 squares. I hope it is making sense. But let's jump onto Airbnb. Airbnb literally came in recently. And when I say recently, obviously I am comparing this to the property development business, which has been around from decades and decades. The internet kind of like started off in the 90s, and we went in into 2000, and we all thought our computers were going to die and crash, but hey, here we are. And basically now what happened here is that there is someone who then thought, I can create a platform, and out of this platform I can have other people to come in, and I don't have to own the properties. And this is people that would have their own properties, and they can come in on the platform, and I can find people, and bingo, Airbnb was created. So the guy that owns Airbnb, he doesn't actually own any properties. Well, they might own some properties, we don't know. But in this case, we're saying they don't own, all they do is to own the platform. Now, when did the platform start? Round about early 2000s, and we have seen the rise of it with people that are predominantly within the tourism sector, or should I say those people that are looking for an experience, because that's what Airbnb does. If you're looking to be on Airbnb, have an experience, give some people an experience of your property, and obviously of what is happening in the area. So, given that, what is Airbnb? Like, it's a platform. However, on this platform, you need to have an existing property or access to a property. And thereafter, you need to load it from there, and from loading it in there, you can now start to have an income stream. By the way, you don't have to own the property. The property could be someone else. You need to have permission or access to the property. And bingo, my friends, you are in money. Now, if we were to look at these two, development, Airbnb, you can see that the entry position, the level of the barriers of entry. Let me speak a little bit of English. The barriers of entry for Airbnb are very low, which basically means that kind of like anyone can do it. On the development side, we can see that you probably need lots of money for you to do it. So for that reason, Airbnb kind of like scores it. Now, why am I sharing this with you? We are trying to figure out between property development and Airbnb, which business is a good business for investment. Remember, on Airbnb, you may have some vacancies. And over and above the vacancies, tourism has its own peaks, or should I say it is seasonal. So you might have to deal with maintenance and logistics of other things over and above the low vacancies or the high vacancies that you may have on your property. And these things has an impact on your income. So for that reason, my friends, which one would be a good business for you? You have the answer. But before we jump on to actually to talk about the answer of Airbnb and property development, maybe let me give you a teaser. I've got a very good friend of mine, her name is Karen, and Karen, she's been doing Airbnb Besides being a good friend to me, she actually was my teacher for Airbnb, so she taught me how to do it. And my friends, I want us to jump into a video where Karen showed me a property with the hope that you are going to learn. And out of this, at the end of the video, what I'm going to do is now we're going to talk about the two, which one is going to be more profitable, right? So I will see you soon after Karen's video. Hey Karen, how's it going? And thanks for welcoming us to your lovely home.
Oh, I feel so honored to have you here. Thank you very much for coming around to my place.
Yeah. I met up Karen a while ago. I was actually one of her students in one of her classes, and that's how I became to know Karen. And Karen runs Airbnb. And having done a couple of Airbnb myself, I figured let's come and actually have to see someone else who is doing it as a profession. This is what you do.
Yep, for 7 years. I started hosting 7 years ago in this very same house that we are today.
But what's your background, Karen, and why did you go into Airbnb?
I've always been in the property game, and you know what it's like. Yeah. Once you're in property, that's it. It's better new, you're in it for life.
Yeah.
So my background is more in property management, but in retail, management of shopping centers. So that's where I started off my career, and then went and worked for retailers on their property departments. And then I decided working for a boss is too much like hard work, and I'm going to be doing consulting work. So I started a consulting business.
Okay.
And I was busy on a project in Mozambique on a shopping center development there.
Right. How far ago was this?
Oh, this was 7 years ago, just before I started Airbnb.
Right.
And in Mozambique, everybody speaks Portuguese, the developer, the QS,
Bom dia, como está?
Yeah, como estás? Muy bien. Muito bem. And I needed to learn to speak Portuguese because just for conversational purposes, you know, not for business. Business, everybody was English, but I enjoy languages, so I took a Portuguese language class.
Right.
Language lessons. And in my Portuguese language lessons was a lady who Airbnb'd one of the bedrooms in her apartment. And I said, well, what's Airbnb?
Right.
And she told me.
You're coming from South Africa and you're in Mozambique. You know nothing about Airbnb.
Oh, no, sorry. She was here. We did Portuguese language classes here in South Africa.
Okay. Good.
And she was in Randburg, and she had a two-bed apartment, and she was Airbnbing the one bedroom.
Right.
And I'd never heard of Airbnb before. It only launched officially in South Africa 2 years later.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I've got a spare room and it's standing there empty doing nothing. Let me put it on Airbnb and see what happens.
Right.
And that was 7 years ago. And here I am now with an Airbnb portfolio.
Oh, okay, so you just hit me a slap on the face. I thought you were just going to be like, yeah, there I am. I've got this Airbnb house. Now you're like Airbnb portfolio.
Yes.
Portfolio means more than one property.
Correct.
More than two, more than three. Right. So when you're saying portfolio, are they all in the same area, in different towns? How do you
No, they scattered and they grew gradually.
Right.
Because after one bedroom, you know, I started getting bookings from repeat customers and running out of space. So I needed to turn my second bedroom, which was a study,
right,
back into a bedroom.
Yeah.
I need to renovate a little bit to move the study. Mm-hmm. So I had two. Right. Then the house got too small, so I made it bigger, and that's what I'm going to show you today.
Nice.
And then it grew from there into more properties.
Right. Currently, how much of your work is consumed within managing your portfolios in your 8-hour day?
It's still a part-time business. It's not a lot of hard work because of the way that I've set myself up. Right. And the systems that I've put in place.
Right.
And I teach all my students to do the same so that you can do this as a part-time venture.
Right.
Because I now have properties in the same area that are Airbnb.
Okay.
I also have properties that I manage for other people on Airbnb, ranging from Pretoria to Durban to Jeffreys Bay.
Wow. Yes. You're doing this whilst you're in Johannesburg?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So how big is that now, that entire portfolio now, including
My
other people's?
number of listings on Airbnb, I think I'm sitting on 46.
46. Right. Okay. That's a big number. And I want to come back to that number because I've always been thinking, if you got 46 listings, how do you go up the list so that when someone is looking for a particular area, boop, you are the first one?
You need to come for a refresher course, TJ.
I agree with you. But here's something else that I wanted us to talk about, Karen. You went from being employed and you went into consulting. And from consulting, and now you're actually running your own business. And I've met a lot of people that have told me that I can't do this, I'm a woman. I will need a support structure, and all of those things. And in my head, it has all been excuse. And yes, there could be some validity in it, but I really don't think so, in my personal perspective. And of all the excuses that I want to talk about today is the female excuse. I'm a female, I can't do that. But there you are, you're doing it.
You know, it was daunting in the beginning.
Right.
And it's only because of the experience that I've gained over the years that it is no longer daunting.
Yeah.
And I teach my students how to go through the verification process and how to screen their guests to make sure that you really get the cream of the crop.
Right.
Because there are lots that you can do to almost handpick your guests. You don't have to take every single one that inquires about your property and sends you a booking inquiry to come and stay with you.
It's almost like dating, Karen. Not everyone who says hello is good for you, ne?
Exactly. I like that. I'm going to use that if I may.
Tommy, welcome. How's it going?
Good, and yourself?
All right. Tommy, apparently you were the builder that was actually innovative in terms of bringing all this thing together. And how long have you been in the business?
We started the building company in 2009.
Okay.
So we've been in it for 11 years, going on for
Good.
11 years.
Right.
We started it as a small, just a renovations company,
Yeah.
which then grew into obviously bigger developments and then building houses for Karen, like she did here for the Airbnb.
Okay, good stuff. And when you came through, how did you meet up with Karen?
We have an architect by the name of Pauline Russell,
Yeah.
which I've done a lot of work before.
Yeah.
And I introduced her to Karen.
Yeah.
Because Karen wanted to do the renovation, and that's how we met up.
Okay, good. And on this particular project, do you mind walking us through exactly what kind of changes you had? Because I understand that it was an existing house,
yes,
but there were some things that needed to be changed specifically for Airbnb. Did you know at that time that Karen was already doing Airbnb?
Yes, she explained that this was going to be rented out as Airbnb once it was built.
Okay. What was her specifics? I mean, one or two specifics that she wanted.
She just wanted to increase from a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom unit. In other words, you've got all this garden space. You've got the parking outside.
Yeah.
You are paying the rent that you are paying. So all she was doing is add value to the square meterage of property that she's already got.
Right.
She needed an entertainment area, like you can see here, for where the guests can come and have a braai, sit down, have a drink at the table.
Right.
Created a nice extra laundry with a kitchenette for those customers. So it was actually just enhancing what she had to get more customers and more people to come and rent from her.
Okay. So this whole place here, what was it before?
This was just a patio. Open patio with a pergola.
Yeah.
The pergola was at this height.
Right.
And we took out the pergola. We kept the old tiles. We just covered them while we were building. We put up the buildings, put up the new windows, the sliding doors, and then the roof. The roof, as you can see, was just extended from the existing to keep the same look, the architectural look. So if you're standing on the front and looking this way, it looks the same way it would have looked
100%
before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I think maybe let's go from the outside, and we're going to go and look into the units a little bit in terms of the changes that you made outside to to extend the living space.
Yes, well,
we'll go into inside.
This patio on this side wasn't here. We had to build that on.
Right.
So this just stopped over there. We built all of this on.
Okay.
And then from this line, the 2 new bedrooms.
Okay. So it's almost having a new house that you created here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we needed to keep the same look of the doors. So we had to custom make. We couldn't find those frames again.
Okay.
So we got a carpenter out that built these 2 doors and frames to look like the original ones.
Okay. All right.
So if you look at the house, you can't say that it's been built on. It looks like it's been there from the start.
It is flowing.
Yes, correct.
All right, good. And that's also important for when you're in a business where you have guests coming in. The look and feel needs to be immaculate, needs to be looking like it's not a lot of changes that's happening.
Exactly, yeah.
And well done on this project.
Thank you.
On a project like this one, what kind of professionals would you also need to have? Because I mean, Karen could come in and say, Tommy, change that, change that, change that.
Firstly, you need an architect to do the design. They have to then hand in the plans and make sure that all is drawn to the municipal standards.
Okay.
Once they've received approval on the plans, then only we can start building.
Okay.
When designing, obviously we need an electrician, we need a plumber, we need a glazing guy, because everybody needs to hand in certificates to get an a certificate of occupation.
What is glazing?
Glazing is the glass that you put in.
Good.
So you can't just get anybody to, they need to be certified.
Right.
You need to put a certain thickness of glass in.
Right.
On this, as I can remember, was 6.35 millimeter shatterproof glass.
Okay.
That needs to be in. And once that's done, they give you a certificate. That gets handed in to the building inspector with the plumbing certificate, the electric certificate, the certificate for the roof, and the engineering certificate for the foundations.
Right.
Once they receive all of that, they supply you with an occupational certificate. Without that, you're not allowed to occupy the property.
Okay, good. Tommy, I haven't met any builder, any project manager who goes through to a project, including my projects of my own, where a project has gone in smooth. And they tell you, there's a house, build it, and what kind of challenges had you experienced on this? I mean, it's a beautiful building that you have now put up.
Thank you.
And in my view, the more beautiful they are, the more challenges they are.
I've got the saying in the building industry that says, if you bake cakes, you're going to break eggs.
Right.
And yeah, we had a few broken eggs. But because of the good relationship between me and Karen from the start, it was easy for us to pick up the broken pieces when it happened.
Yeah.
One of the small challenges that we had was these sliding doors. Those tracks were elevated 25 millimeters above the floor level.
Right.
Now you must remember this was an original patio, so those tiles were at those levels. We didn't put in the tiles afterwards. So all we did was we retrofitted those tracks on top of the existing tiles.
Okay.
So Karen came in one day and she said, guys, somebody is going to trip over this one day and get hurt. We cannot leave it like that. And I said, but Karen, we did not quote on putting it in, because this was an existing patio.
Yeah.
She said, well, guys, then you must give me a price, but we're going to put them in the ground. We're going to take a grinder, we're going to open this up, and we're going to put them away so that nobody can trip over it.
Yeah.
And we made a price, and Karen was happy, and we retrofitted them.
Yeah.
So that was one of the challenges that we overcome very easily.
I mean, look, I'm just trying to figure out, why would Karen ask you to put it down that way? I mean, if any of her family members gets hurt, so what? I mean, you get hurt, you go to the hospital, you get sorted.
That's family.
Yeah.
But if you've got paying customers living in your house, getting hurt on your property, that becomes a public liability.
100%, 100%.
And you don't want that. I mean, you want to try and make your place as safe as possible to prevent any of situations like that occurring.
Yeah. And at this junction, when Karen had asked you this, I don't know how long she'd been running her Airbnb, but for someone else who's starting off, there is no way you could have foreseen that.
No, for sure.
And for me, I'm always saying that when you're going on into journeys like these ones, like this is very small, but the impact that it could have had you not been doing it, there is no way you could have seen this.
Yeah.
And for me, Karen, running through her training programs and things like that, this is where actually I've realized that if you work with someone else who's done it, it adds value into what you are doing now, because everything that you're doing it blindly.
Exactly.
Right? And the repercussion of it could be much, much bigger later. But the expense, which you could have sorted it now, was next to nothing.
Yeah, let's say it was, I can't think it would have been more than 1,000 rand for us to grind that open and put it in. Let's say it was that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you didn't do it at that stage and Karen didn't tell us to do it and somebody got hurt maybe a year ago, it would have cost a lot more than 1,000 rand.
Awesome stuff.
For somebody that got hurt there.
But this is a small problem. You solved it.
We solved it.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I get paid for.
Awesome stuff. What else has been a big challenge?
The Huskies.
Yeah.
There's two of them. I don't know where the other one is.
Smokey.
Smokey and?
There is Smokey. Is a letter, eh? Is it he or she? He.
It's a him.
Okay.
Now these two dogs, if you open that gate, even that big,
yes,
they get their nose in and they're out.
Right.
And they won't stop running until they get to the main gate. I think it was probably 4 or 5 times that we had to run with a whole team of guys up to go catch them and bring them back to the property. But that wasn't the baddest.
Right.
The one day they got out, and a lady also living here, her Chihuahua was also not in the yard.
Chihuahua is the smaller
small
dog.
like that.
Yeah.
And needless to say, the Chihuahua is not with us anymore. So that was a terrible day for all of us. Those people...
For me, you're such a bad person, man.
Shame, man. I did cry for the dog. I mean, I felt sorry. But then the lady wanted her lawyer sent us a letter for 30,000 rand that we had to settle, because otherwise she's taking us to court.
Oh, wow.
But needless to say, that's something that happened that shouldn't have happened. But once again, it was an accident. It was something that happened while we were on the site.
This is not even about the project itself, building it.
Exactly.
But it is something that has a direct impact, but it's not something that you could have planned for.
No.
You know, you don't know the dog was going to go out and what it was going to do when it goes out.
Look, but Karen expected our people that work for us to make sure that the gate is closed.
100%.
So in that sense, yes, we were negligent by leaving the gate open.
Right.
But it wasn't something done on purpose.
100%.
Nobody leaves the gate open to say, please, dogs, go out.
Right.
Luckily, nothing came of that. But we're sorry for the small dog that didn't make it.
100%. And it could be in other scenarios. You know, now I'm getting my juices in my mind is flowing. It could be a vicious dog. To you as the landlord, it's not a vicious dog. It goes out, it goes and bites a child, it goes and bites someone else. I mean, these are common stories that we see every day. But nonetheless, they are pets that we love and we keep. Right.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome stuff. On this property here, I mean, these two challenges that you just spoken about, it's challenges that can be seen with anyone else. Anything else that you want to drill in?
Where we extended the house, I showed you just now where we extended those 2 rooms.
Yeah.
We had to join that roof onto the gable on this side.
Right.
So that means that you need what they call an under-tile flashing that will go down from this wall.
Right.
It will fold underneath the tiles.
Right.
And then you'll seal it.
And that's where the flusher is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Then you'll seal it so that the water doesn't run between the tile and the brickwork.
Right.
Now the guy that put in the roof, they forgot to put in that under-tile flashing.
Okay.
Look, we use subcontractors to do roofs. We don't do the roofs ourselves.
Right.
Because you need a certificate of compliance for the roof.
Yeah.
So
and that's normal for buildings and things like you get subcontractors to come in.
Yeah, there's no builder that puts up their own roof.
Yeah.
They do it by a subcontractor.
Yeah.
So he forgot to put that, and it's a small galvanized plate that goes in there, and they didn't put it in.
Yes.
And with the first big rain, this whole wall on the inside, you won't be able to see it through the window.
Yeah.
The water was running like a shower down there.
Wow.
So obviously Corin wasn't too impressed. Luckily the floors weren't in yet. We were still building the house. We weren't finished. So luckily the floors went in and the skirtings went in and the cornices. But okay, that was something to see.
If you are to build a house sometime in January and this project is done in June, there is no rain all the way to October and you are gone, and then in December the rain comes. If if that is something that happens on a project, what would you recommend that the person who's contracted the builder to come in, what is their next steps?
You say if the rain then came and we didn't see the flashing beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, as I said, we were still building the house.
Yeah, but in this case, you are long gone. So
no,
what should have Karen do at that time? Does she give you a call? Are there guarantees?
Okay. Yeah, wait, just sorry, I have to... in a situation like that, the roofing guy would have... remember, we didn't sign off the house yet.
Sure.
So he didn't pick it up because the roof wasn't signed off and guaranteed as yet.
Right.
We wouldn't have handed it over as a finished product without that in. Luckily, the rain came and we saw it immediately, but we would have picked it up at a later stage before we put in the floors, before we put in the ceilings.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Tommy. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tommy, who was instrumental on this project. And if you're looking for a builder, you know where to get him. So there we are on this property here. This is your property that you actually stay in. Mm-hmm. And is this where Airbnb started?
This is where Airbnb started.
Right. This house never used to look like this. Why did you decide to go with this film? You like, when I walked in here, I was like, my favorite wine bottles. that was the one thing that came in. And then I was like, wow, that is so cool. And then I saw the price and I was like, okay, nice. So I haven't even gone through into the house, but I'm like saying, nice, nice, nice. Why this look and feel?
I like something that is minimalistic.
Yeah.
And especially now with COVID, you want to go minimalistic.
Right.
The less little goedertjies that you have standing around, the less cleaning there is to do.
Okay, I see.
But I also wanted to make it feel warm and cozy.
Right.
So that when you walk in, you want to kick off your shoes. And when you are here, when you walk in and you've put your bags down, you feel comfortable to just go to the kitchen and make yourself a cup of coffee and sit on the couch and watch TV. I wanted to create that comfortable, not cold, minimalistic but not cold, minimalistic but warm feeling.
Right.
And another venture that I had 7 years ago was I had a decor shop.
Okay.
And I imported decor and gifts from Bali.
Right.
And I've always enjoyed decor, and I've always enjoyed researching the latest trends and the latest color schemes. So it's a hobby of mine that...
Is this a color scheme or is this fruits?
It's both.
It's both.
It's functional and beautiful.
I agree with you.
Yes.
Because I mean, when you come in, I can say the greenery is very obvious in here.
Yes.
I mean, the bottles, chandelier. The chandelier is very green. The apples are very green. So it's intentional.
Yes.
What you're doing.
You want
here.
everything to tie together.
Right.
You don't want a mush-mash of decor and have one theme in the lounge and a different theme in the bedroom and all over the place. You want the same thread to run through the house.
I've always thought that is a secret, actually. Mm-hmm. Not just in Airbnb, but I think whenever you've got guests somewhere coming in, you want to have the wow factor the moment that they come in, which is why hotels and things like that, they would put in a big thingy outside and then you walk in, it's just beautiful, and so the wow factor is there.
So this chandelier made you go wow when you walked in?
Yeah.
So I have a chandelier like this in all the Airbnb properties that I own.
Is this your signature?
This is my signature.
All right. Well, now we know.
And there's an interesting story behind it. So I saw a similar concept.
Yeah.
And then I came across the Protea wine bottles that had these beautiful patterns on the outside.
Right.
And I said, that's it. That's going to be my chandelier. So my Airbnb guests and I started frequenting Protea wines only.
Oh.
For that reason.
Okay.
So that we could accumulate all these bottles.
So did you tell them when you're coming in, bring a Protea bottle?
whenever they bought wine, it had to be Protea.
Okay.
Okay.
And there you are. Now you could just
and then my ex-husband and I are extremely good friends.
Yeah.
And he's in the structural carpentry business, and I said to him, this is what I want to make.
Yeah.
So he made me the base that it's all hanging from. So there's a lot of history in the chandelier, and then it became a signature.
Wonderful. I like it. This is the kind of like you're walking into the house, and I really like the way this house, I mean, this is kind of like you're walking in. It really looks nice. It's colorful. And was this the original space of the house?
This was the original lounge, and the house stopped here. These sliding doors were the doors to the outside of the house.
Right.
Because that patio was just a patio before, with a little pergola over it.
Yeah.
And when Tommy did the house renovations for me, we enclosed it, built a roof and a braai and a whole entertainment area.
Right.
Because that's where it all started. I wanted somewhere for my guests where we could sit and socialize.
Wow.
So I just wanted to put a roof over the patio. And then I got an architect in, and then she said, well, what about rather this and that? And I said, okay, all right, do some drawings for me. But I also later maybe want to extend the house.
Right.
So can you do drawings for me at the same time? And she said, yes, I can. But once we submit them to council, you have to build within a certain period. And then I said to her, let's just do everything at once.
Right.
Because by then I'd run my numbers. I knew what my 2 bedrooms were bringing me every month.
Yeah.
And I did my calculations and said, if I do double that, I'll be getting a really good return on the renovations if I extend the house.
Yeah.
So we just did the whole bang shoot at once.
Nice.
Yes.
If I'm a guest, I have the use of that property.
Absolutely.
The braai, so I can braai
garden, the
anytime.
braai area, the TV, the lounge, the kitchen, all
your
all
kitchen
the
looks
common
very
areas.
nice, and it's.
Thank you.
You got gas,
So the kitchen was also much smaller.
You've got no sink.
We've got a sink hidden around the corner here.
Oh, I see.
The sink used to be on that wall.
Right.
But then the moment you come in at the front door, the first thing you would see was the sink. So when I renovated the kitchen, we gutted the whole place and we moved the kitchen across.
But that traditionally, so if I'm talking to my builder and I say, I want the sink to be in this position, especially here.
Yes.
You have no outer wall here. They're going to make arguments with you that, no, it has to be outside because the plumbing needs to be there. I mean, how did you get it right?
You just need a clever builder.
That's it.
Yes.
I like that.
So the plumbing runs on the floor along the outside behind the cupboards.
Right.
So all along the perimeter of the kitchen, the plumbing goes to the outside. There used to be a washing machine there, so we already had the water supply. So it's only the waste that we're channeling towards the outside there.
It's intentional for you because your look and feel and the wow factor that you're creating is that when someone is walking in, they're not seeing the hotas of the house.
When you're walking in, you want to have a focal point.
Right.
So whenever you walk into a room, whatever you see first, that's got to be your focal point. So when you walk in through the door there, the first thing you see is this wall with the beautiful photos and the wine rack on the side. And my very expensive solid wood kitchen countertop.
It ties in.
Yes.
It ties in. Yes. I really like it. I like the way that you've decorated your house. Now, let's jump into a particular room that maybe one of your guests would...
Oh, and here I have a chalkboard.
Right.
Which at the top it says, before I die, I want 2.
Oh, nice.
And I leave a bucket of chalk on the floor, on the corner there.
Yeah.
And my guests come and they just write down their dreams.
Really?
Yes.
I like
this one wants to climb Kilimanjaro with Nina.
Right.
That one wants to live to be a granddad and visit as many countries as my age. So, yeah, this is where the dreams are written.
Nice.
So this room, I have a guest here today, so I can't show you inside, but you have the photos.
Right. How long has this guest been here?
He's been here for a month now, having booked for a second month.
Okay, that's not the concept of Airbnb, because people think that Airbnb, it's 2 days, 1 day, and you're talking about
that's the thing about Airbnb. They allow you to be. It's a platform that allows you to be so flexible.
Right.
You're not hotel where you have to accept everybody that comes knocking on your inbox. And you don't have to take somebody for 1, 2, or 3 days.
Right.
I don't take any short-term rentals.
Okay.
So I have geared my entire property towards long-term business.
Okay.
So I have a lot of guests who need a place to stay long-term, and I call them the in limbo travelers.
Right, right.
They're on their way somewhere.
And what traditionally, when you're saying, not traditionally, but they're in between, right? In what kind of a person is that? Is that a doctor?
Somebody who's busy building a house and it's not ready to move into yet.
Yes, yes.
Somebody who's moving from another city.
Yes.
And
on a new
changing jobs.
Yeah,
and they just want to check out the area and see, is this where they want to settle?
We get a lot of that in Cape Town. Yeah.
I can imagine, yes.
Let's jump into...
So that was my first room.
Yeah.
This used to be my study that then became my second room, and the house ended here.
Right.
This was my 3-bedroom house because I live upstairs in the 3rd room.
Okay.
So then we took out the built-in cupboard that was here.
Right.
And we just made this room smaller, and we moved the cupboard further into the room so that we could create a passage going through.
Good.
And then this is where the new house starts, and because it's built on a slope, we had to put a few steps down into the new section.
Right.
So
and
now
this is now the new. We're in the new house.
We're in the new house, yes.
But it flows nicely. It doesn't feel like it's separate.
Because I've taken the same flooring all the way through.
Sure.
I've taken the same paint color all the way through.
Yeah.
And the same theme. All right, we couldn't see the themes in those rooms, but every room is themed to a different country.
Wow.
So decorated to either South Africa or Malawi or Cuba or Russia or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then this is the laundry room, which if somebody had to buy this house from me, could easily just close it off there and have a separate flatlet here completely on its own with its own kitchen. This can easily be converted to a kitchen. Now we just use it for a laundry room.
Karen, you live in a complex. You know, this is a complex, and traditionally you can't do plenty add-ons, but you went a little bit crazy and you did it anyway. In terms of navigating the body corporate, the council and things like that, how difficult was that?
So in this complex where my property is situated, we are classified as freehold.
Good.
So we're not sectional title. Sectional title, you would be far more restricted.
Sure.
I've got a huge stand. I have 870 square meters.
Yeah.
And prior to me doing renovations, some other owners in the complex already did similar renovations.
Okay.
And everybody signed off on it. You know,
Yeah.
you just need to get your neighbor's consent and go through the approval process.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really difficult from that point of view. I was very fortunate.
Okay, good stuff. This is the one room that is now available.
Yes, so I have a new guest moving in here today who's also booked for a month.
Yeah.
Another long-term guest.
That lady there looks very much, could easily be my grandmother.
Really?
Yeah.
Smoking a Cuban cigar. Because this is my Cuban room, so I have all the Cuban decor here.
It's really nice.
Thank you.
I like the handles here. Like, where do you get stuff like this, man?
You just shop around for it. You must come with me when I go shopping. It's so much nicer than the standard that you get. But yes, so all the guests can go out into the garden. They all have sliding doors from their bedrooms.
Okay. Now let's talk about your clients that come in, right? So this is their space that they're coming into, and this is what belongs to them for the time of their stay. What do they get?
So everything in the room is their space.
Right.
When they book this is entirely their space.
Right.
I have these space saver desks.
Right.
Because nowadays it's very important to have a work from home space.
Right.
Because they get free uncapped Wi-Fi. A lot of people work from home.
Right.
So my Wi-Fi is really good.
Your desks are quite interesting here.
Yes. Let me show you how it fits together. It's very easy.
Okay.
You fold this out, and then there's a lever there that you pull out.
Oh,
like
nice.
this. So even if you have a small townhouse, it's nice to put this in because when you don't need it, you collapse it
You
and it
just
doesn't
fold it
take
away.
up any space. Yeah.
Nice. And it's still in the way of
And if-
your mirror here.
Yes.
And you can still...
You can still stand here and do
I'm
your
looking
hair
good.
and
Yeah.
and get dressed. Can
Right.
I show you something else that's very nifty that I
Yeah,
enjoy doing
go for
in
it.
my? Because you know bedside tables are very expensive.
Yeah.
You can pay R1,500 for a bedside table, and then you've only got one.
Right.
And you want somewhere where you can put your lamp,
Yeah, yeah.
your bedside lamp, so that you can read at night.
Right.
So, have a look at this. How nifty is this? You just
Okay.
mount your bedside lamp on your wooden headboard. And then you have a bookshelf where you can put your book and your cell phone and whatever.
Nice. So they get the use of the room.
Yes.
They get the use of the kitchen,
Kitchen,
right?
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, the garden, lovely garden, and literally like everything that they have in a normal home. And this is their private space. You got some goodies on there.
Yeah, so when a new
Tables.
guest moves in,
Yeah.
they get my branded water.
Right.
And they also get a welcome pack, just to say welcome and I hope you're going to have a good stay. And in that welcome pack, depending on if I know who it is, if it's somebody that I know is coming from overseas on a long flight and they're arriving late at night,
Yeah.
I'll pack something in there for them: coffee, tea, milk, just little sachets,
Yeah.
and maybe a biscuit or rusk for breakfast, and I'll put in some nibblies.
Karen,
just to say.
I mean, I do this for a living as well, but not from an Airbnb perspective. And when I look at some of the Airbnb, I travel quite a bit, and I don't see the level of effort that you're putting in.
Thank you.
But I also want to look at the reward, right? There's another house, not this one here. There's another house that you Airbnb. I know next door there's someone else who's renting out a house there. In your Airbnb house there, is it a 3-bed, 2-bed?
3-bed, yeah.
So it's a 3-bed.
Yes.
Traditional 3-bed in a complex.
Yes.
Right? How much do you Airbnb that house?
100%.
100%. Right. And in terms of numbers, when you're doing, so you don't stay there, so you Airbnb all of it. You got some tenants in there now.
Yes.
Right. How much are they paying there now?
So they are there for 3 months.
For 3 months, okay.
They're busy building a house and their house is not ready yet.
Right.
And they needed somewhere interim to stay. So that's my typical client.
Right. Fully furnitured,
Fully
Wi-Fi,
furnished,
everything.
it's got everything.
Yeah.
I provide, included in the Airbnb offering is a cleaning service.
Sure.
So depending on at my house, twice a week.
Right.
At that one, for example, once a week. There's a
Okay.
cleaning service, Wi-Fi, everything fully furnished, everything included. And they pay about 21 per month.
Okay.
And my neighbor, who's on the old school, you know, the traditional
Yeah.
1-year lease that you sign with a tenant and you give him the place
You're talking about
unfurnished.
me, okay?
Yes.
All right.
The market rental there is 11,000 a month.
Okay. Boom.
So if you take that money, take it one step further. Take that extra money that I'm earning over and above what my neighbor earns,
Yeah.
and you put that money into your bond. Do you know how quickly you're going to pay off your bond?
Well done. That's why Airbnb pays off. So as we walk around, this is the bathing room. And are there any people that share bathing rooms?
Oh, yes. So in this house, I have 2 people sharing 1 bathroom. So for every 2 rooms, there's 1 bathroom.
For every 2 rooms, there's 1 bathing room. Okay. And how does that work? I mean, the people know upfront they're going to share a bathing room?
Yes, you make it clear up front in your Airbnb listing, in your
Okay.
description.
Yeah.
And people don't. I've been doing it for 7 years. And for 7 years, people have been absolutely fine with it.
It's nice, it's fresh, I like the designs that you've got. simple. There's nothing wild around it, and I really like clean places.
Yes.
That's my thing. And for me, I can come and stay here and I don't mind coming back because I'm seeing it's clean, it's being looked after, and you're also putting in effort. And over and above that, you're also a cool person.
Thank you. I hope.
No, but that's important, right? Because you've got guests, and I actually want to ask you something around that, because by nature, I'm like super introverted.
Right.
By nature.
Yes.
As my wife, I just want to be with me, and that's okay, right? But when I am doing business, I know that doesn't pay the bills. So I've had to teach myself on how to balance. I'm not saying that I want to be extrovert, but I have to balance. How do I become bubbly around people? How do I bring the energy to other people? Is it something that's important in this line of business that you're in?
You don't have to be. You don't have to be, because you don't need to entertain everybody.
Right.
They come, they do their thing, they stay, and they leave.
Right.
And if you happen to become good friends in the process, then that's a bonus.
But you must not be the general as well.
No.
So there has to be a balance there.
You're not running a military camp.
Cool. Awesome. I like that. As we go outside, just to have a look of what outside really looks like, for me, in terms of what you've done with your house, anyone who's got a house can do it.
Oh yes, absolutely. My parents live in Aston Bay in the Eastern Cape.
Right.
And you know, they now have an empty nest because all the kids have left home. And I Airbnb'd the rooms in my mom's house.
Wow. So you can, that's another side hustle there, right, that you've just mentioned now, because you've got your parents and, empty nest. And with that, you just gave me a brilliant idea. I didn't think of that.
Going to Airbnb your parents' house.
I don't know if my mom would allow it.
My mom didn't want to. Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 7 years, and I've been talking to my mom about this for a long time and said to her, but you've got the rooms, just do it.
Yeah.
And she's always had the excuse, no, but we first need to renovate the bathroom.
Right.
We first need to paint this bedroom. And, oh no, we can't have people here with a garden looking like that. You know, my mom loves beautiful things and she wants everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
So exactly a year ago, at the end of November last year, my mom called me in the middle of the night, 11 o'clock, to say that my dad had gone to hospital and we need to wait an hour for the test results. Long story short, he's fine.
Yeah.
But
thank God.
An hour at 11 o'clock at night, and I thought to myself, okay, I need to know, what am I going to do with myself for the next hour? So I whipped out my laptop and I put my mom's rooms in her house on Airbnb. Without telling, this is not the time to tell your mother that you have put her rooms on Airbnb.
Oh yeah, no.
This is not the right time to do it.
Right.
So I kind of midnight, left it, and next day I had a business lunch.
Yeah.
And my phone beeped, and I knew that specific ringtone, that beep was Airbnb.
Yeah. It's the money beep.
It's the money beep.
That's what we call it.
It's the money. It's the money beep.
Yeah.
The money beep came through, but I was in a business lunch. I didn't want to pick up my phone, and 10 minutes later there was another money beep. And I thought, well, it must be somebody. Now I'm trying to think, which of my rooms are empty, who's booked what. And I couldn't stop myself. I had to pick up the phone, and it was for Mom's place.
And you hadn't told her?
2 bookings, and I hadn't told her.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
So I had to phone her, and I had to say to her, Ma, I said to, well, this was my pitch.
You got a visitor.
This was my pitch. No. I said, Ma, I did something and I didn't know it was going to work so quickly.
Right.
But I've just made you 2,500 rand.
Oh,
Mom
nice.
said,
oh, nice. Okay, that's money now. So that's different.
That's different.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, I Airbnb'd your house. Oh, she said, when are they coming?
That's nice. But Karen, your house, now we are outside, your garden looks amazingly looked after.
Thank you, yes.
And
I put a lot of effort in.
But to me, it's not just about the effort as well. I mean, like, for instance, at the back here, you've got the Jojo tanks.
Yes, because as you've seen, I've got an enormous garden.
I can see.
And if you have to water this garden with municipal water only, your water bill is going to be pretty steep. So when Tommy did the renovations for me, the water tanks were not in the plans originally.
Right.
It was something that came as we went along.
Yeah.
And so he did all the gutters in such a way that all the water from all these roofs run into my 10,000 litre Jojo tanks. And that's what I use to irrigate the garden as often as I can until the Jojo tanks are dry, and then I use municipal water.
You're being pro-smart, eh?
Yeah.
I like that. In conclusion, can anyone do this? I always ask all my guests, like, what you're doing, can anyone do it? And when I mean anyone, I mean anyone.
There are only
what are the requirements?
2 requirements.
Yeah.
You must be over 18 to register on the Airbnb platform.
I think at this time, talk to them.
Talk to them.
Yeah.
If they want to do it.
Yeah.
You must be over 18.
Right.
If you're not over 18, get somebody who's over 18.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're living in the new economy. And the new economy is not about owning assets. It's about having access to assets.
Control.
So if you have access to somebody who's over 18, then find somebody who's over 18.
Yeah.
And the second requirement is you must have access to property.
Right.
The spare room in your house, the spare room in your friend's house.
Right.
You can have a cottage, an entire house, a beach house, even a tent or a caravan. You can put that on Airbnb.
Really?
If you have nothing else but a tent, TJ, put it on Airbnb.
So
go and look under the category of unique stays on Airbnb.
Yeah.
There are caves, caravans, tents, tree houses, anything under the sun. And now, after COVID, people are really looking, they've got cabin fever. They want to get out of the big city.
Yeah.
And they want to go somewhere that's different and quaint and unique.
Yeah.
So those kind of listings that are unique are the ones that are really, really seeing an upswing now.
Karen, thank you very much for allowing us to see your property here and an amazing business that you've got on top of it.
Thank you.
I don't think it would be cool for me not to say this. From the numbers, I know for a fact you're living here for free.
Absolutely. Because if you just think, one room during lockdown, the height of a worldwide economic pandemic, call it what you want.
Yeah.
I made on one room on average in my Airbnb properties in this area, 6,898 Rand per room per month.
Wow.
So on one property, this one I'm renting out 4.
Yeah.
And you live for free.
You do the maths, and anyone can do this. Boom, you had it right, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great hanging out with you. And if this is something that has been interesting to you, don't forget to subscribe. And don't forget to share this. But I also want to say this, Karen. You don't just do this. You've got another passion where you teach other people to do what you do. And I think that's where me and you like each other, because we like to impart to other people. And
because we've gone through the teething problems in our own businesses. We've gone through the growth phase, and I don't know if you took as long to get started as what I did, but I took a few. I had to learn a lot, and I did a lot of teaching myself.
Right.
And like with you, we pass on that knowledge so that other people don't have to go through the same struggles as what we did.
What do you take on?
I still teach people how to do
teach
Airbnb properly. Yeah.
Right. What do you take on to the notion where people say, yeah, but you're teaching other people and there isn't more land that's being created, so you're actually creating competition for yourself?
If you look at the number of listings on Airbnb in South Africa, and the potential that there is, and if I look at how well my students do, and how it changes their lives, and they're using property that they have, that they wouldn't have made an income from if it wasn't for this opportunity. And that is, I never started this business with that kind of reward in mind. But when somebody comes to me in a month's time and tell me I've just made 16,000 Rand in my first month on Airbnb, there is nothing that beats that. That feeling that you've empowered somebody else. It's something that came with the business that was totally unexpected for me.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude, and it's been great hanging out with you. And if Airbnb is something that you want to do, I don't teach it, but Karen does. You're going to find her details right in the comments below, and all you need to do is follow that, and voila, who knows? You might be owning your own Airbnb portfolio. Boom! Welcome back. And so you have had the pleasure of watching a video right at the beginning when we did the introduction of the video. You went in to have a look at how to actually start a property development business. We have gone on to talk about the pros and cons of it, property development. And now we went in to see the pro of someone who actually does Airbnb as a profession. I don't do it as a profession. I fuse Airbnb with student accommodation. Now, having said that, I want to introduce you to something, my friend. And this is, I thought about this. If I know how to do property development, and it's a thing for me, right? I have done it. Maybe I've done a couple of 3 or 4 or 5, and bingo, I'm in money. What about Airbnb? What do I actually need to have to do Airbnb? Remember, we're talking about which of the two is profitable. Well, my friends, I decided that between the two of them, I do not want to pick. I want both. Yeah. What am I talking about? I am talking about fusing property development and Airbnb. Yeah. Have you thought of that? Well, we just did here, and you've helped me for us to craft that. So let's go a little bit deeper into this development and Airbnb, and why I would think that is a combination, a fused of Airbnb and property development. Why would it be a good property investment for you and for me and for other like-minded people who are here? Firstly, number one, if you've got a knack for development, you can go out there and this time around you can develop or buy a piece of property very intentional. In this area there is an influx of tourism, or there is people that come into this area for a specific reason. So here's the thing. You are not just developing. You are developing with the end in mind. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking the fact that as a developer, you are good at spotting the land. That's number one. Number two, you have the unfair advantage where you know how to get cheaper resources. Let me just call it affordable resources, right? Affordable resources because you are in the game of development. So you know where to get bricks cheaper, cement cheaper, and all of these things. So all of a sudden, if I was just in the business of Airbnb, I'm going to buy my property on a retail market. But this time you, my friend, you are buying the piece of land, you know exactly how much it is, you're buying it in an affordable price, and you are waiting and waiting for the compliance to go through. Eventually you start the development, and you are also developing with the end in mind for Airbnb. So which means that where I might have been struggling as a retail buyer of a 2-bed, 1-bath, and now I'm thinking, how best do I make this 2-bed, 1-bath accommodate a family of 5? You can already build it, you as the property developer, you can build it intentionally to say the room could be like this. As the master's bedroom, we can build it like this, and these squares we can accommodate next door, and we can have a door in between the kids, like what we have in the hotels. You know how it is in the hotels, you get a door in between when you got kids on the other side. Or you don't know, you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, don't worry, I see you have not been in the hotels before with kids, né? They've got that thing where you have a room, you don't have to go out to go to the other room, right? It's kind of like an in-suite. It's got like a door in between. Yeah, door in between the rooms, and your kids could be staying in the other room. So creating privacy for the parents, right? Now, having said that, you now need to say you're building this purposefully. So which means that if you got your own money and you're going to be building like this, you are building purposely for your clientele for Airbnb, which is something that I may not have when I am going to shop for my Airbnb. So you got a huge advantage here. Over and above that, you're buying cheaper and you're building cheaper. So you got a huge advantage here. So we can see, my friends, if you're doing a property development in isolation, the possibility of you losing out is very high because you are not looking at the end consumer. But hey, if you're going to fuse the two, there is more back to be made. I can go in a little bit deeper on this, but I decided today we're doing an introduction. Let's just do this small little bit. But what do you think as well? Being a developer and you're developing for Airbnb, what's your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. I will see you, my friends, on the next video.